Hey guys, before we get into Horizon Forbidden West, make sure you subscribe with notifications on for more story summaries. Without further ado, let's go. 6 months following the Battle of Meridian, Aloy is scouring the world, searching for a way to put a stop to the extinction of all life on Earth, a backup of Gaia. Despite her leads going nowhere, Elizabeth's genetic clone remains hopeful. She soon runs into Val, one of her many friends she abandoned after the battle without so much as a see you later. He tracked her down, determined to help Meridian's savior in her quest. After Eloy gives him a focus so he can see what she sees, they follow the Blight to a room with a hologram discussing Far Zenith, suggesting the world's previous civilization left Earth to a place called Sirius System, intending to create humanity's first off-world colony and next step for humanity, with a suggestion that they were seeking immortality. But Aloy reveals to Val that the Far Zenith did not make it. Their ship blew up before they had a chance to. But one thing that this does show is that Elizabeth may have given them a backup of Gaia for their colony. However, another hologram showed that all that about the next step for humanity was BS. They did all this to save their own skin. They were selfish pricks. They intended to preserve high society and escape Earth's issues. World extinction? Not their problem. But then why would Sobek give them a copy of Gaia? When the duo proceed, they find yet another hologram, exploring that they intended to steal it. With Val pondering why Elizabeth looked like Aloy, she explains that they're genetically identical and that she was made by a machine to recover Gaia. Together they make their way to the data center to recover a stolen copy of Gaia and take down a Slitherfang that was blocking their path. However, it's revealed that fortunately and unfortunately, Travis Tate, the hacker in charge of Hades, caught and sent over a fake copy of Gaia. That's that then. Back to square one. This frustration leads Aloy to tell Val that the road ahead is a dangerous one, and she tries to push him away, but he insists that he wants to help his friend. Val suggests they return to Meridian as Spy Master Murad can help her locate Sylens, who may be able to help locate Gaia. But when they make it back, Aloy figures out that Sylens actually saved Hades using his lance. Aloy uses the transmission node at the top of the spire to deduce that he's somewhere to the far west. At that point, he suddenly shows up. He informs her that he wants to extract the knowledge of Hades before encouraging her to find him. So off she goes, voyaging to the Forbidden West, sneaking off without Val to avoid putting him in needless danger. But on her way, she encounters yet another old friend, Esen. Naturally, he too wants to tag along. She also shrugs him off. However, for her or anyone to proceed beyond the gates, an embassy must be held between the Karja and the Tenakth. Although Commander Nozar signaled their readiness, the Tenakth are yet to. But Aloy, being her determined self, did not care as she went beyond the gates against their wishes, with Val having tracked her down, with him being his loyal self. Aloy is confronted by the Tenakth marshals, who she attempts to convince why she's out there, to save everyone, all life on Earth. Then the signals are given by the Tenakth and the embassy commences. However, it's rudely interrupted by a Tenakth rebel who preaches that the marshals easily forget that their people were savaged by the Karja. Regala wants to overthrow Chief Pharaoh for being in bed with the enemy. When she attacks, it becomes evident that she herself is in bed with Sylens, as she has machines at her disposal. After witnessing the brutal massacre of Nozar and most of the marshals, Eloy and Val fend off Regala and her men before she retreats. Eloy tracks down a device left by Sylens containing a message. He explains that he was able to render Hades cooperative by using the processing orb from a Titan. Hades reveals that there was a signal that gave it life, clearly to wipe out Earth's population. Regardless, this means Gaia can be safely rebooted. But Aloy does things her own way. She tracks down Hades, who Sylens left behind, and destroys it as it taunts her about his belief of Earth's inevitable fate. Doom. That's when Sylens shows up on her focus to tell her that she's mere meters away from the backup of Gaia. Clearly the sneaky bug has been hard at work. But Aloy's had enough of his nonsense. Trick her again and she vows to ram her spear through his throat. When Aloy accesses the backup of Gaia, it turns out there were 2 copies. Unfortunately though, the backup doesn't have the subordinate functions needed, so Aloy has to track them down. So she figured out the location of Minerva, one of them, and hoped to use her to search for the rest. But then trouble arrives. A group of powerful futuristic people, with Trinity looking to have taken an entirely different pill this time. Anyway, they come with another clone of Elizabeth Sobek identical to Aloy that they call Beta. They too want the Gaia backup. They were able to use Beta to access the second one, similar to how Aloy did, as they are both clones of Sobek, Gaia's creator. Aloy's hiding spot soon gets compromised as all but one of them retreat. The one they call Eric is far too powerful for Aloy to handle. Besides, he basically used cheat codes with that damn force field that made him invulnerable. Although, our Nora Outcast was far too clever for this to be her demise. She outbrained him to escape the hectic situation. Dragged by the current of the water, she makes it to the shore, semi-unconscious. She hallucinates seeing Rost, her father figure, in front of her very eyes, even though he wasn't actually there. Luckily, someone else who cares for her just as much showed up. Val carried the worn out and injured Aloy to safety. She awakens in a village her body brought her to. Val convinces her to talk to an Utaru named Zoe who can help them out. The Utaru's land gods are dying, but Aloy was able to help one of the machines recover, proving to Zoe that she's worthy of her time. Apparently there's a cave in the mountain containing another of their land gods, where deadly killer machines are now pouring out of. Although reluctant to lead her to the cave, a sacred place to them, she was convinced when Aloy stated that it could save their land gods. Val stays with Aloy while Zoe heads to Plainsong, but Aloy overhears a conversation between the two that unveils the truth, their inner relationship. So Aloy vows to him that she won't leave him again and encourages her mate to accompany his girlfriend. When fully healed, Aloy follows suit as the trio enter the cave. After Aloy gifts Zoe a focus much like hers and Val's, they discover the land god having been corrupted by Hephaestus, as it was Gaia's, now rogue, subordinate function responsible for terraforming machines. The 3 of them were forced to take her down so they can override the Bay core Hephaestus is using. After Zoe mourns her fallen god and the fact she knows not what to believe anymore, she goes with them to find Minerva, who Aloy convinces to become one with Gaia once again using the Master Override. Post pleasantries, Gaia establishes a network between the trio's focuses, which is mighty useful. Following that, Gaia uses the new and improved facilities capabilities to locate Aether, Demeter and Poseidon, which are within reach, while Apollo, Artemis and Eleuthia can't even be traced. Even still, Hephaestus, the most difficult to obtain, is the most important. It's the sole permanent solution to the Earth's extinction problem. In order to get it, we need the other sub-functions first. Before heading off, Aloy asks Gaia about those mysterious people from the year 6000. Apparently they're linked to the extinction signal far from Earth that woke Hades. It came from the Sirius star system. Aloy puts together that they never died, and those were the far zenith. They did not want future humans to think that they were out there, so they made it out like they perished. They've in fact been alive for thousands of years. Despite that bombshell, Aloy focuses on the task at hand. Gaia requires Hephaestus so it can hold complete and utter control of the Zero Dawn system and the ability to produce as many machines needed to defeat the far zenith. Aloy wants to start with Aether, but before she does, Vol informs Aloy that he's going to get Erend because they need as many allies as they can get. After she provides him with a spare focus for Erend, Aloy goes to Aether's coordinates. It happens to be the very place Chief Pharaoh is situated. Despite knowing that Aloy helped fight off Regala's forces back at the embassy, Pharaoh insists if she wants to access the chamber below, she needs to help him gather more marshals to keep the tribe together and defeat Regala, seeing as the last ones have been slain. But first, Aloy aids Kotalo, one of the few surviving marshals from the embassy, to get to Kote, a fellow Tenarth clan's leader, to join the fight against Regala. Then the time approaches for the competition to find the next marshals. But not for the first time, these guys get interrupted by Regala and her machines. While Aloy's machine gunning countless enemies in the midst of battle, Regala and Pharaoh get into it, a one-on-one. Fortunately, Eloy was able to slow the rebel down by dropping a pillar on her, forcing her to retreat, promising that she'll be back for Pharaoh and anyone that stands by him. Once she's gone, Eloy recovers ether before taking it to Gaia's location, the now base, along with Kotalo, who wants to help the best he can. By the time they get back, so has Val, with Erend. After giving ether back to Gaia, Gaia informs Eloy of an unusual transmission on its Eleuther frequency. Eleuther is one of the sub-functions Gaia couldn't detect before. So Eloy, Erend and Val head to the coordinates. They spot a weapon used by Regala's men to remove a Zenith's force field, to allow one to eliminate her. Yeah, it's cool and all, but the weapon's fried, so it's of no use to them. It seems though that the Zenith was here on a mission to recover Eleuther. When the group keep looking in the area, they find Beta, the Sobek clone that was there with the Zeniths that attacked Aloy. They take her unconscious body and fight off some Spectre machines in order to escape and get back to base. Before she leaves, Aloy gets a souvenir from the Zenith destroyer weapon. When Beta awoke, she was in a frantic state. Giving her a focused help though. She explains that the Zeniths were in fact successful in establishing a far-off colony world, but a natural disaster rendered it uninhabitable, which explains why they want Earth. Beta tells Aloy that she was made on the ship by the Zenith so that she can access and control the terraforming system to wipe out Earth and start over. At this point she begins to panic even more, fearing that the Zeniths will find them, even with Aloy reassuring her that Gaia is using Minerva to mask their location. Val tells Aloy that he will look after her as Aloy pays another visit to Gaia. They decipher that Sylens was behind that beastly weapon that took down the Zenith. And Gaia tells Aloy that it doesn't matter that the Zenith have Apollo, Artemis and now Eleuther. As long as they can get the other two, Gaia can absorb Hephaestus. So their original plan has not changed. Poseidon next. Unsurprisingly, to get Poseidon, Aloy heads to an underwater city. Once she drains it, she takes down a Tide Ripper before finding and bringing Poseidon home to Gaia. While she's back at base, Aloy pays a visit to Beta. She's been studying data Gaia gave to her to figure out how to capture Hephaestus. In other news, she mentions that Tilda, one of the Zeniths, is different from the others. Even though the others were being secretive, Tilda had been meeting with Beta on the down low. Tilda knew Sobek. She was the liaison between the Far Zenith and Zero Dawn. Could be why she reached out to Beta. But out of nowhere, Tilda cut her off when Beta finally met the other Zeniths. This understandably baffled Beta. What did she do wrong? Then she started sulking like a child. Eloy tells Val how Beta's being tough to take as she's not even being supportive or optimistic. Aloy brings up how overwhelming the whole being out there trying to save the world is, and Beta moping around is not helping. Val, being the understanding and considerate friend that he is, assures Aloy that it's normal for her to be feeling this way, having gone through what she's been through in her life, and more recently her run-in with the Zeniths. Clearly it's taken its toll on her, and Val mentions how it's clear as day how much she misses Rost. And with her never mentioning him, it can't be healthy to keep that emotion bottled up. Aloy confirms his suspicions. His absence from her life is paining her, but she doesn't have time to dwell on that. Off to Demeter. There were some unknown enemies there to greet her. Once Aloy demolishes all of them, as per usual, she runs into the last remaining one in the area, Alva, someone with a focus of her own. Turns out she's the diviner of the chosen people, the Quen. The ancestors left the powers of the focus to her people. She's on the hunt for the data of her ancestors to help save her family and her people from the red blight and harsh weathers ravaging them. Before she left on this mission, her sister Elika was already emaciated, making her more determined than ever to succeed. However, there was some data Alva's focus can't read because it's an older model. Luckily, Aloy was able to help with that, as hers is newer. They then work together to reach the data core, fighting off a Dreadwing along the way. Aloy retrieves Demeter from the data core, unblocking access to all data in the surrounding area. The archives are mostly pertaining to agriculture, providing Alva something to bring home. That's when more of the Quen soldiers turn up, ready to open fire on Aloy until Alva was able to defuse the situation by making them realize that Aloy is Elizabeth Sobek, one of their ancestors, reborn. Alva wishes Aloy the best, knowing her mission is her family's best hope of surviving, with these agricultural practices taking possibly years to read and implement. Just before she returns to base, Alva tells Aloy that she's from San Francisco, just in case she heads there at any point and or needs her help. Now that Gaia has acquired Ether, Poseidon, and Demeter, Gaia should be able to capture Hephaestus. And it's a good thing with Val's help, Beta came up with a plan as to how to do that. Aloy can't extract Hephaestus the same way she did with the other sub-functions. It has to be in a location Gaia has direct connection to it. Gemini, a cauldron in the desert with 2 data cores, one for Gaia and the other for Hephaestus, where Gaia can call it and trap it. Unfortunately though, Gaia obtaining Hephaestus will create a massive power surge, allowing the Zeniths to track them down, with Minerva unable to conceal them. So Aloy suggests that they send Eren, Zoe, and Kotalo to other cauldrons to cause other power surges in an attempt to confuse the far Zenith. However, Beta, being her usual negative Nancy, says that the plan won't work, seeing as Hephaestus cleverly wrote Alpha Clearance out of its access module. Therefore, they need a higher level of clearance. Ted Pharaoh, Sobek's boss's Omega clearance. To find it, Aloy heads further west to San Francisco to find Thebes, the private bunker Pharaoh ran off to when the world ended. In the meantime, Beta can work on the pulse generators for the fake-outs. In San Francisco, Aloy links up with her gal Alva. Theo, the sort of leader of Alva's group, is desperate to enter Thebes, claiming to be the true heir of Ted Pharaoh. He believes Pharaoh's deepest and darkest secrets will help him save their homeland. Clearly the guy is mistaken. He believes Pharaoh saved Earth when he actually doomed it, being responsible for the creation and distribution of a swarm of robots capable of eating anything for fuel, including humans. Not only did he unintentionally eradicate the vast majority of the population, he deleted Apollo out of the fear that future humans will repeat his mistakes, explaining why they are more primitive than they should be. They lack the sub-function Apollo's knowledge of past humans. Anyway, with Theo refusing to see reason, they proceed into Thebes together. Aloy discovered that in his bunker, Pharaoh pursued immortality. Despite his men's success in reducing his cellular aging, it came with other complications. Mutations. Fortunately, they were able to contain it, but Pharaoh was getting more and more unstable due to the burden of humanity's extinction resting on his shoulders. This led to the murder of the other survivors with him in Thebes, and the 2 that remained off themselves, leaving nobody to administer the mutation treatment to Pharaoh. Aloy retrieves Omega clearance as Theo spots Pharaoh's mutated form, instructing his men to burn him alive, but this triggers the security protocol, flooding the place with lava. With the self-obsessed CEO ordering the murder of Aloy and Alva, the women are forced to kill all his men. When trying to escape, the duo see CEO get what's coming to him. Luckily though, they were able to get out with their lives intact. The 2 of them inform the Quen of the treachery performed by the egotistical CEO. Although aware of his asshole-ish nature, they were ready to open fire until Aloy explains to Bohai, the second in command, that she found something that can help their homeland. And when the time comes, he can take credit for it when things start to get better. However, Bohai sends Alva to join Aloy to report back on her efforts. Not that that's a problem, Aloy's come to really like her. Back at base, Gaia tells Aloy that everything is ready. However, Hephaestus has proliferated a lot more throughout the Cauldron network, making it vastly more powerful. As a result, it will take longer to capture it, even with Omega clearance, making detection by the Zeniths more likely. Aloy suggests that they can offset the extra time required to absorb Hephaestus by bringing Beta along to Gemini. 2 cores, 2 overrides, 2 Sobek clones. But when Aloy tries to convince her to tag along, she flat out refuses. She's fearful they'll all go wrong and she'll get captured and go back to being a slave. The 2 clones discuss how it doesn't make sense that they have the same genes, mind, and heart, but Beta can't find the strength that Elizabeth had to do what needs to be done. They were both outcasts, shunned. The sole difference? Rost. Beta lacked the care, nurture and love he provided Aloy with. Aloy explains that even in the bleakest of times, his memory gives her the strength to go on. Somehow this got through to Beta and she agreed to the plan, but made Aloy promise that if the Zeniths find them and she gets captured, she'll kill her so she doesn't go back to being a slave. At this point, Aloy gathers her allies as they ride to where they each need to go for their plan to come to fruition. Once Aloy, Beta, Val and Gaia are fully ready, Eren, Kotalo, Alva and Zoe all fire their pulses to confuse the Zenith, giving them the all clear for Gaia to capture Hephaestus. Gaia connects to the Cauldron network, allowing for both Aloy and Beta to activate a mega clearance at their respective cores. When Hephaestus arrived, Beta was able to trap it, but in its desperation it still cracked a core and fled elsewhere in the facility and drove some machines to their surrounding as a security measure. It got rid of the machines and Aloy led Hephaestus back to Gaia by overriding the network uplink where it fled, while Beta repaired the damaged core, allowing them to keep Hephaestus 100% contained. Gaia then establishes the link, enabling the duo to complete the merge. But with it having taken so long, they couldn't remain relaxed, with the Zeniths having honed in on their location to gatecrash the party. They blast Aloy away and Gerard, the seeming leader of the group, commands Eric to get Beta, who fatally stabs Val with ease in order to get to her. But even with Beta being kidnapped, Aloy couldn't bring herself to keep her word. She couldn't lose another friend. With all hope seemingly lost, Tilda turns on the other Zeniths to save Aloy and take her to the place where she was meeting with Beta on the down low. Tilda explains to Aloy why she wants her so-called friends stopped. She supposedly wants to fulfill Elizabeth's dream, to use the build of the Apollo database on board the Zenith ship, a complete collection of human knowledge, and Gaia to heal the biosphere and educate the people of this world. To do so, however, they need to stop her invincible comrades from decimating all life on Earth by using Gaia, who they now nabbed off Aloy. Tilda informs Aloy that Sylens has found a way to defeat them. He's been forming an army powerful enough to crash through Gerard's base. He plots to use Regala to defeat the Tanakh, so they have enough of an army to charge at the Zeniths to give Sylens the opening to kill him using the weapon that he developed, even though Regala and all of her soldiers will perish in the process. Tilda plans to use this as a moment to sneak in the back way and take Beta and Gaia. Aloy refuses to let Pharaoh and his tribe get wiped out for her plan to succeed. She repeats Ross's words, "If it looks impossible, look deeper." Aloy gets Tilda to contact Beta to tell her that she's coming for her, before she whispers something in her ear away from Tilda's earshot. After which Beta tells Aloy that as long as I know you're coming for me, I can endure anything. Aloy tells Tilda that she'll stop Regala to help the Tanakh, forcing Sylens to turn to Aloy for help, giving them access to the Zenith killing weapon. Tilda gives the location of an electromagnetic energy cell on the ancient Horus Titans that can help tremendously in this fight against Regala. But first things first, they've got to lay Val to rest. At his grave, Zoe reveals to Aloy that she's pregnant. The two of them share some beautiful memories of their fallen loved one, before Aloy promises Val that she'll look after them both. With Kotalo having gone by Pharaoh's side in preparation for Regala's next attack, Aloy overrides a Sunwing, which she flies to the Titan to grab the energy cell before heading for the battlefield. Aloy drops it, incapacitating all machines within range in the process as she ditches the bird to fight on foot. She and Regala agree to have a one-on-one duel to end this. After a bunch of toing and throwing, Aloy comes out on top. Even with Regala ready to die, Aloy refuses, insisting that she'll be needed for the big fight against the Zeniths. Seeing as marching into battle against the Zeniths would be a far more honourable death, Regala accepts that as her fate. People now safe, Kotalo returns to base, and so too was Pharaoh, but Aloy wasn't about to let him risk being able to build a better future for his people. As a small consolation, he gifted her some gorgeous attire for the fight ahead. And as she predicted, after Aloy saved the Tanakh, Sylens got in contact with her and agreed to meet her at her base in Plainsong. She tells him that she's giving him a final chance, but any funny business and she'll end him. Sylens states that he perfected the weapon and it no longer blows up when used. With that sound news, Aloy gathers her friends to give a rousing speech showing the plan to all of them. The target is to reach the launch tower to get to Beta and Gaia, but away from everyone else she gives a special mission to Kotalo and Alva. Apparently when Tilda got her in touch with Beta, she told Aloy that there's an installation inside the base called a regulator that they need to destroy to help stop the drones. After which she wants them to find a way to infiltrate the Zenith network by going through the data Beta left behind, as she's confident that she knew how to do that. It's imperative they do this because Aloy wants information on the Zeniths, anything that Tilda's keeping from them. She's not entirely trusting her. Anyway, Tilda gets them through a concealed door that leads them to a route that they can pass through undetected. When in and around the base, Aloy keeps Zoe and Regala at high ground in case of need of covering fire, while Tilda heads to a sensor node to hack it to scramble their network so the group can remain undetected. The remainder of them take down several spectres to get in closer when they observe that Alva and Kotalo did what they were supposed to, allowing Beta to inject Hephaestus into the base's printer matrix, enabling them to crank out machines to combat the spectres. That's what Aloy and Beta were whispering to each other after she got captured. They all rendezvous to proceed further into the base, with the spectres distracted. However, a few of them surround Aloy and Regala gets her honourable death fighting off the beast as Aloy made it out with the place turning to rubble soon after. But then they finally get spotted by the Zeniths, whose Sylens uses the weapon on to disable their force field. Gerard and Eric retreat back to base while the rest get absolutely wrecked by a sunwing. Her friends carve a path for Aloy to follow the final remaining Zeniths to the top of the tower, but before she could get there she gets intercepted by Eric. Besides, they've got some business to settle. After a much less challenging fight without his shield, Aloy overcomes him, with Zoe coming in from behind and delivering the final blow, avenging Val by doing so. Eren calls in to reassure Aloy that everything else has mostly been handled. Spectres and Zeniths are mostly dead. All she has to worry about is Beta and Gaia. But before reaching the top of the tower, Alva also calls in to let Aloy know the information Tilda's been keeping from them. The Zenith actually plan on leaving Earth and they're afraid of something called Nemesis. And no, they're not members of Stars. Anyway, Aloy makes it to the peak where she saves her sister, and Beta then accesses the network to find out more about Nemesis. Apparently there's something in space that's following the Zeniths to Earth, a swarm of machines. Beta suspects that this is what killed the Zenith colony on Sirius, not a natural disaster like first thought. So they're on the run, with Earth being just another pit stop for them. Out of nowhere, Gerard comes flying into sight with Tilda having killed him. Tilda then explains to Aloy and Beta exactly what Nemesis is. On Sirius, many of the Zenith weren't satisfied with immortality. They desired digital transcendence, to be able to upload their minds into any form, organic or mechanic, of which Nemesis is a failed experiment of. It's a database of memories, emotions and prejudices that have been left to fester for decades until it gained sentience and wiped out the Zenith colony. It resents the Zeniths for imprisoning it, therefore it's hell-bent on revenge. It will do anything to kill them, including sending the extinction signal that woke Hades. It was Nemesis, not the Zeniths. With that having failed, Nemesis is on its way to Earth right now to finish the job itself, which is why they want Gaia, to build themselves a new world. And that's still Tilda's plan, to take Aloy and Gaia to a new home, where Nemesis can never find them, so they can fulfill Elizabeth's dream. Obviously Aloy refuses to abandon Earth, so Tilda intends on forcing her to go, under the assumption that she'll eventually forgive her. She enters a Spectre Prime exoskeleton as Beta rushes to cover. Aloy blows up the machine, killing Tilda along with it. Following the conclusion of the fight, Sylens arrives, saying that he already knew about Nemesis, and that he did all this so he can leave this doomed planet behind, and he intends on seizing Apollo in his quest for knowledge. Even though he politely asked her along, insisting Elizabeth would come with him, Aloy refused yet again. But as he looked back at Aloy embracing all her friends, he decided to stay and help fight this seemingly hopeless battle ahead to preserve the world as opposed to creating a new one. Aloy's friends head out to spread the word about what is to come, with Aloy, Beta, Sylens and Gaia preparing for the approaching threat. Nemesis. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, comment your thoughts and subscribe for more video game summaries from me. See ya!